And got critical acclaim for that, didn't you?
So I heard,
Yeah.
yes.
So you don't read those reviews.
So what sets you apart as a director?
Ooh.
Wow.
Juicy.
See, it is. That is good.
I mean, because a lot of people won't know. They'll go to a
Yeah.
show and they'll go, boy, that was really good, and they won't really understand
true.
what made that great.
I remember once I was in New York, or wherever I was directing, my mother came to see a show, and they never really came out to see things that I had done. They were not showbiz people. They were church people. And I was dating a lady who had a 9-year-old son. And Mom came to see the show, and Dad, and this lady and her 9-year-old son. And Mom leaned over at intermission and said, and asked, well, what did you do? You know, she could see what all the actors were doing. What did you do? And I turned to Charlie, who's 9, and said, Charlie, tell my mom what I did. And because he had attended a lot of rehearsals, I wasn't thinking
That's
of any, I wasn't thinking of Jack Linkletter moment. But he leaned forward and he said, he tells everybody what to do on the stage, and everything you see them doing, he told them to do it.
Yes, that's a perfect answer.
And so there was nothing more I could say after that. I would add that I do believe, because I'm also an actor and used to be a singer, I bring that sense of how those people need to be communicated with. Actors and singers are very different, and when you're trying to get them where you want them in a character, it's good if you have some empathy for where they're coming from. And I think I just believe that it's the psychology and the emotion of the character that you're trying to marry with their personality and with whatever's on the script. And if you really do that well, then all the blocking and things that you have them do is just a physical expression of that.
That's wonderful.
Right.
Hope I answered.
So it's good to have empathy.
You did. So I have another question.
Another one like that?
And make sure we move on to reasonable voice, because
Gotcha.
for the sake of time,
Okay.
definitely want to talk about that.
Okay.
You call yourself a director first and then an actor, but this actor thing just keeps pulling you back, doesn't it?
Well, not
yeah.
back. I wouldn't say that, but it's certainly, and I know you didn't mean it that way. It's funny how I've never really pursued an acting career, but it has pursued me, and I'm not complaining. Certainly not the soap opera days. But even recently here in Charlottesville, I got a call. Since everybody knows about here, maybe I shouldn't tell the whole story. But I got a call from Bob
Chapel,
thank you.
Right.
From UVA's Heritage Festival.
He's been on.
And he and I have been, oh, well, great, then I'll talk about him.
Yeah.
He and I have met, since we've been here, we've chatted from time to time about one of these days, we'll, whatever. And he picked up the phone and he said, I'm doing Barefoot in the Park, and I think you'd be right for the Charles Boyer role of Victor Velasco.
And you so were.
I said,
You were so right for that role.
And I remembered, the funny thing is, I remembered the movie, and Charles Boyer wasn't in it that much. And so I said, oh, this will be a breeze, this is easy. But in the play, he never leaves. He's constantly talking all these lines. But it was fun.
You were brilliant.
It was very fun.
You were so perfect for that role.
Thank
You
you.
just
Thank you.
breezed
That was
around that
fantastic.
set like you owned it. It was really a pleasure to watch.
Thank
Her
you.
exact words were, "I've got to work with that guy."
And we did,
Yes, I
and
heard
then
that.
we
We
did,
did.
and we
And we
got to
did.
work together for the
Yes.
Charlottesville, Virginia Production Alliance. So
That's right.
But for the sake of time, I really want to talk about the reasonable voice, because one thing that really strikes me is that after 9/11, you were inspired by sort of how the country seemed to be ripping apart, and you wanted desperately to be a part of bringing it back together. And I just love that mission. So I would love to hear a little bit about the reasonable voice and what your goals are, and how people can hear you and watch you.
I think, actually, I get a little more emotional about the reasonable voice these days than I do directing and acting, only because, as often, see what I mean, occurs to me, I do a lot of, as a director and an actor, we create a character. But this is real life. And a lot of things happened immediately before and on 9/11 and immediately after. And that the effect of that is unraveling more and more. What initially, prior to 9/11, I think we were feeling very smug. And then 9/11 happened and we just were absolutely shocked by it. But the shock was heard around the world. And initially, the entire world, and we too had come together, not only in grief, but I think in, and anger, to be sure, understandably, but we came together thinking, we've got to stick together to get through this. And unfortunately, what has happened since then is that that togetherness, both from the world and from ourselves, is unraveling, because we've been kind of manipulated into choosing sides. And I don't think America should be choosing sides against itself. I mean, besides the cliche, the very profound cliche of a house divided against itself, it's more even than that. It's about, we're all here, and it worked as long as it worked, because people were pulling together of all shapes and sizes and colors and whatever. And we can disagree, we can have political differences, and we can argue, but we don't have to shoot one another when we disagree, or stomp people into the ground, or grab people because you don't like the sign they're holding. I think the reasonable voice is about finding that in each of us. We all have that inner child that speaks to us. Some people call it a conscience, but it is reasonable. It really is. It's reasonable, it's logical, it's pragmatic, it's a dreamer, but it calls on us, or is constantly whispering to us about being our better self. And if everybody was doing that, instead of trying to make a point, or win out, or defeat someone, or call them a name, or get radio ratings, I mean, all of that's far less important than that we just simply go, this is our country, belongs to all of us, no matter what you look like, no matter what you think or say, belongs to all of us, and we have got to put it back together again.
That's wonderful. I'm here.
Yeah.
I really believe that, and I'm so glad that you're out there spreading that word.
Thank you.
And please tell our viewers where they can see your the Reasonable Voice videos, and you have an online.
Yes, the Reasonable Voice, of course, the website, www.thereasonablevoice.com. I do political articles there, but I also do some political videos as well. And now we just got published on Op-Ed News, which is number 69 in the top 100 political news blogs. And there are others. CNN. Gee, sorry, CNN. CNN and Huffington Post.
Yeah.
Politico. There have been Google alerts of us. I wish I knew enough about the internet to appreciate what a Google alert is as much as everyone says I should, but I do, even if I don't know what it is. It's great.
And it sounds cool.
It sounds cool. First time I heard a Google alert, I thought, what did I do?
And in fact, all they have to do is really Google The Reasonable Voice, and all of those will come up. I mean, you're all over the internet, which is a wonderful thing. And your videos are wonderful, and I really love your perspective. It's very fair and balanced, and I think you're moving in the right direction. And I think the more people that watch you, the better the place will be, the country will be, if we all start taking that same mentality.
That's a great thing.
So we really appreciate you being on the show, Marcello.
My pleasure.
You have a lot of stuff coming up.
Yes.
So we're definitely going to have you back, because you're actually doing some really wonderful things, fundraisers, all sorts of wonderful things.
Yes.
So we'll get you back on and talk about that, and try to help you spread the word with that as well. So will you come back?
I will come back.
Good.
All right.
We're very glad you're in Charlottesville.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely.
Yes. So that was Marcello Rollando, everybody, the Reasonable Voice, the very, very reasonable voice. Now stay tuned for our musical guest, Ian Gilliam, while he rocks the house.
You're going to like it.
We'll be right back.